My name is Maria de la Cruz. I should not even be here today, because 2 years ago, I was declared gone for more than 2 days. My body was weak and broken, but my soul was taken to a place beyond this world, a place where I met Jesus face to face, and where I was given a message that will shake not only my life, but maybe yours as well. I was born in 1969. My mother Elena was only 16 years old when she gave birth to me. She was young, free-spirited, a flower child of her time. And even though she loved me, her life was filled with chaos. My father was never in the picture, and my mother simply could not give me the stability that a child needs. So from the very beginning, I was passed from one place to another, one caregiver to the next, always feeling that I did not belong anywhere. By the time I was 4 years old, tragedy struck. My mother overdosed on pain medication and died. It was the very same day that my great-grandfather was buried. Imagine that. My grandmother lost her father and her only daughter on the same day. The grief was too much for her to carry. She could not raise me herself, so I was placed in foster care. And from the age of 5 until 18, I lived in the Santos household, a place that gave me food and shelter, but also left scars that would haunt me for decades. As a child, I was told again and again, be grateful, be thankful, because we are giving you a home. But at the same time, behind closed doors, there were cruel words, painful actions, and deep emotional wounds. I learned to smile on the outside while I was breaking on the inside. And I carried that weight all through my adult life, always battling anxiety, always wondering why love felt like punishment. Fast forward to March 2020. The world was in lockdown. COVID had shaken every corner of the earth. I had 3 grown sons, all struggling with their own battles, each one in a stressful job, each one needing me to listen, but knowing I could not solve their problems. And on top of that, I was fighting my own rare disease, Lambert-Eaton syndrome, a condition that weakens the muscles and steals your strength day by day. I was supporting other patients while trying to keep myself together, but inside I was collapsing. On the night of March 20th, I woke up nauseated. I went to the bathroom thinking I would throw up. Instead, my blood pressure crashed. My body gave out. I fainted and hit the floor face first. I was unconscious for 45 minutes. And when I came to, I was lying on the cold hardwood floor with blood pooling in my head. My journey of pain was just beginning. But what I did not know then was that this path would soon lead me to the gates of eternity. In June, the headaches grew worse. The concussion symptoms tortured me. I could not clean my kitchen. I could not handle basic tasks. Every sound felt like knives in my brain. Every light felt like fire. Then one weekend, 3 things happened in a row. One made me furious. One made me heartbroken. And one made me laugh with joy. But my injured brain could not process all of it. I spiraled into sleepless nights, racing thoughts, and finally collapsed into a darkness that lasted more than 2 days. When I opened my eyes, I was not in my room anymore. I was floating above my city. I saw the river below me, the lights, the rooftops, but I was not afraid. I felt light, free, and for the first time in years, I felt loved. And that is when my true journey began. The moment I realized I was floating, I looked down and saw the familiar streets of my city, the Penobscot River, winding like a silver thread under the moonlight, the rooftops of houses I once walked past as a child. But everything looked different from above. I was no longer bound by the weight of my broken body. I was spirit, and spirit has no chains. As I drifted higher, memories began to play before my eyes, not like dreams, but as if a veil was being lifted from the past. I saw myself as a small child, frightened, clinging to my blanket, waiting for a mother who never came back. Then I saw the foster house, the Santos family, the moments when they would scold me harshly, the hidden abuse, the manipulation, and suddenly, I understood everything with the mind of an adult. It was no longer confusing. The truth was clear. They had power over me, and they used it for control, rather than love. The pain was heavy, but strangely, I did not feel alone. A voice whispered, calm and strong, telling me, "You are not broken. You were never forgotten." And then, in front of me, a great hall opened, its walls glowing with light that had no source, a light that was alive, and I felt pulled inside, as if my soul belonged there. Inside the hall, I saw faces, some familiar, some unknown, and then I saw her, my grandmother, Rosa. She was being wheeled toward me, yet there was no wheelchair. She moved with dignity and peace. I looked into her eyes, searching for answers, and without words she nodded, confirming what I had been shown, confirming that the cruelty I endured as a child was real. I was not imagining it. I was not exaggerating. I had been wounded deeply, but now, the wounds were exposed in the light of truth. Tears flowed from me, though I had no body. My soul wept for the little girl I once was, for the innocence stolen, for the years of confusion. Yet at the same time, I felt a strange release, like chains falling away, because the truth heals, even when it hurts. I was no longer bound by lies. I was free to see, free to understand. Then, as if the hall itself transformed, I was suddenly in a place that can only be described as heaven, a place of absolute calm, filled with a radiance beyond words, colors more vivid than anything on earth, sounds like music woven into the air, and the presence of love so strong it erased every fear. It was here, in this sacred space, that I felt someone approaching, greater than all others. And I knew, even before I saw him, that it was Jesus. The moment he appeared, every thought in my mind became clear, every doubt dissolved. His presence was light, but also a weight of glory I cannot explain. I fell into silence, not because he demanded it, but because his love overwhelmed me. His eyes looked into the deepest parts of my being, and I felt completely known, completely forgiven, completely loved. Jesus spoke gently, yet his words shook me. He said, "Your life has been marked by pain, but none of it was hidden from me. Every tear, every cry, every wound, I carried with you." And as he spoke, I saw flashes of my life again, but this time, each moment was shown from his perspective. Times I thought I was abandoned, he was there. Times I thought no one cared, he was near. And I began to understand that even in my darkest nights, I was never truly alone. In that place, all my questions rose to the surface. Why me? Why the abuse? Why the endless trauma? And his answer was simple yet profound. What was meant to destroy you, I will turn into testimony. You will carry truth that others cannot deny, because you have seen both the depth of pain and the height of my love. Those words entered me like fire, burning away the shame, igniting a new strength, and I knew I was being prepared for something greater than myself. Then, he asked me, "Do you wish to see those you have loved and lost?" My heart leapt, and I said yes, without hesitation. In an instant, I saw Kenny, my high school sweetheart who died at 19, and he was radiant, smiling, alive in a way I had never seen before. I wanted to run to him, but even before I could move, the joy of his presence filled me. I also saw glimpses of others, friends who had passed, even beloved pets, and I understood. Love never dies. It simply continues in eternity. Yet even in the joy, I felt a heaviness, because Jesus was not only showing me reunion, he was preparing me for revelation, for warning, for a mission I would have to carry if I ever returned to earth. The atmosphere shifted, and I knew what came next would not only change me, but was meant for the entire world. Then Jesus looked at me with eyes that pierced through time itself, and he said, "Listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you is not only for you, it is for the nations, it is for the world." The peace around us grew heavy, like the air before a storm, and I felt my soul tremble. I knew he was about to reveal something that humanity could not afford to ignore. He showed me visions, not dreams, but living pictures unfolding right in front of me. I saw nations rising against nations, angry voices shouting, streets filled with chaos, people turning on one another, brother against brother, sister against sister, all divided by hatred, by politics, by greed. I saw the world tearing itself apart, not because of war alone, but because of hearts growing cold. Then he said, "Do you see how quickly fear spreads? Do you see how lies divide? The pandemic was only the beginning, a shaking to reveal what is hidden. But there will be greater storms, and humanity must choose whether to walk in love or in destruction." His words cut deep, because I remembered the chaos of COVID, the fear in every news report, the distrust between neighbors, and I realized he was showing me a warning that goes beyond one virus. It was about the soul of humanity itself. I saw corruption in governments, leaders clinging to power while the poor starved. I saw children abandoned, victims of abuse and trafficking, their cries ignored while the world scrolled on their phones. I saw greed consuming corporations, poisoning the earth, turning people into numbers instead of souls. And in all of it, I heard the voice of Jesus saying, "This is not what I created humanity for. I gave them love, but they chose selfishness. I gave them truth, but they chose lies." Then he raised his hand, and the vision shifted. I saw floods swallowing cities, fires consuming forests, storms tearing through coastlines, and people screaming, "Why, God? Why?" And Jesus whispered, "The earth groans, because humanity has turned away from the ways of life. They exploit, they destroy, and now creation cries out." His face was filled with sorrow, not anger, but the sorrow of a father watching his children destroy the gift he gave them. I asked, "Lord, is there hope? Will the world ever find peace?" And he answered, "Yes, but not through politics, not through power. Peace will only come through repentance and love, through people returning to me with humble hearts, through families choosing forgiveness over revenge, through nations learning compassion instead of pride." His words were like thunder and comfort, all at once, terrifying yet full of mercy. He warned me about technology. I saw screens everywhere, people staring into devices more than each other's eyes, relationships crumbling because of addiction to false images, lies spreading faster than truth. And Jesus said, "Be careful, for the enemy uses distraction as his greatest weapon." People no longer hear my voice, because the noise of the world is louder. Tell them to be still, to return to silence, to listen again for the whisper of God. Then he showed me something that broke my heart. I saw churches, but many were empty. Some were filled with people, yet their hearts were cold. They worshipped with their lips, but their lives were far from love. Jesus said, "Religion alone will not save them. Titles and rituals cannot open the gates of heaven. Only true faith, lived out in kindness, in humility, in service to others." And I realized the question I had asked since childhood. Which religion is right? Was answered right there. It is not about the label. It is about the heart. The visions came faster. I saw families fighting, marriages breaking, young people drowning in depression, entire generations feeling lost, because they were never taught about purpose, about love, about God. And, Jesus said, the enemy seeks to destroy the young first, because if he takes their hope, he takes the future. But tell them, they are not forgotten. I have plans for them. If only they will return to me. At that moment, I felt his urgency. His voice grew stronger. Maria, the world is on the edge, but there is still time for mercy, time for change. But my children must rise. They must defend the innocent, care for the broken, stand against injustice, and shine my light where darkness tries to rule. His words echoed like fire in my soul, and I knew this was not just a message. It was a commission, a command, a desperate plea for humanity to wake up before it was too late. Then he looked at me with such compassion, and he said, when you return, they will not all believe you. Some will mock, some will doubt. But do not be silent, because even if one soul hears and turns back, heaven will rejoice. At that moment, I wept, because I felt the weight of what he was asking, but I also felt the power of his love behind it. And I knew I could not refuse. The visions faded. The light dimmed slightly, but his presence remained, calm and steady. He touched my shoulder and said, now, you understand. You have seen the truth, and when you wake, you will carry it to the world. Remember, time is short, and the choice is urgent. Love or hate, mercy or judgment, life or death. And with those final words, the scene began to shift again, preparing me for what would come next. As the visions faded, I felt the presence of Jesus draw even closer. His words now turned personal, not only warning me about the world, but giving me a mission, a responsibility that I could not ignore. He looked into my eyes and said with a voice both tender and firm, Maria, you must return, and when you do, you will carry my message into the world. At first I resisted. I said, Lord, why me? I am broken. I am weak. I have lived with fear and pain all my life. How can I speak for you? How can I tell the world what I have seen? My soul trembled. I felt small, like a child again, but his gaze held me steady, and he answered, because you know pain, you know trauma, you know what it is to feel abandoned, and yet, you survived. Those who are wounded will listen to you, because you carry the scars they recognize, and through your story, they will see me. He placed a hand over my heart, and in that moment, waves of warmth and light poured into me, filling every empty place, healing every crack inside my soul. And he said, your scars are no longer chains. They are signs of victory, reminders that darkness tried to break you, but could not. Now use them as a testimony. Do not hide them, for when you speak, others who are broken will find hope. Then he spoke of children. His voice grew heavy, almost grieving. Protect the little ones. Too many have been abandoned, abused, forgotten. I hear their cries, but the world looks away. Tell them that I see. Tell them that I will not forget. And tell the people of earth that to harm a child is to bring judgment upon themselves. His words struck me deeply, for I knew what it was to be that child, wounded, unseen, and now I understood why he chose me to carry this truth. Jesus continued, you must speak for the poor, for the hungry, for the homeless sleeping in the streets. You saw them. You felt their pain. Do not let their suffering be ignored. Tell my people that to love me is to love the least among them and to care for those society has cast aside. His words echoed with power, reminding me of every homeless face I had passed. Every moment I turned away because it hurt too much to look. Now I knew I could never turn away again. He also warned me, stand against injustice, for the world is filled with corruption. Leaders will lie, systems will fail, but my truth remains. Do not fear to speak, even if your voice shakes, even if they laugh at you, even if they reject you. Remember, I was rejected too, but speak anyway, because silence allows evil to grow, and I am sending you to shine light into the darkest places. His words were like fire, burning away every excuse I had left. I asked him, but Lord, when I return, people will say it was only a dream. They will not believe me. What if they mock me? And Jesus replied, do not be afraid of rejection. Truth always faces resistance. But those who have ears to hear will hear, and their lives will be changed. Your task is not to convince the whole world. Your task is to testify, and let my spirit do the rest. That truth brought me peace, because I realized I was not being asked to carry the burden of changing the world, only to deliver the message faithfully. Finally, he gave me a promise. I will be with you when you return. You will not speak alone. I will guide your words. I will open doors. And I will use your story to reach hearts you could never reach on your own. Remember, your life was spared for this purpose. Do not waste the second chance you have been given. With those words, I felt both the weight of a mission and the strength to carry it. And I knew my life would never again be my own. It would belong to him and to the people he sent me to reach. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, waves of understanding began to flood my soul. Truths that I had always suspected, but never fully grasped, suddenly became clear. It was as if the mysteries of life and eternity were being unveiled before my very eyes. Not through books or sermons, but directly from the heart of God himself. The first truth he revealed was about music. I had always felt a deep connection to songs, certain melodies that could lift me when I was crushed, or comfort me when I was lost. And Jesus said, do you know why music moves the soul so deeply? Because music is a gift from me. I give songs to artists so that they may speak to hearts when words cannot. Every song that truly touches a soul is a message from heaven, reminding people of my presence, my love, my hope. In that instant, every moment of my life when a song saved me from despair made sense. It was not coincidence. It was divine intervention. Then he showed me the reality of gifts, talents, and passions. What the world calls talent, he said, is really a seed I planted. Some receive the gift of art, some the gift of teaching, some the gift of compassion. But each one is meant to serve a purpose, to bring light where there is darkness, to bring healing where there is pain. These gifts are not accidents, they are assignments. And when people misuse them for greed or pride, they lose their true power. I realized then that my own gift of empathy, my ability to feel the pain of others so deeply, was not a weakness. It was a sacred calling. Jesus also explained about justice, and it shook me. He said, every act of cruelty, every hidden abuse, every injustice done in secret is seen. Nothing escapes my eyes. And one day, all will be brought into the light. I trembled as I remembered my foster mother, Mrs. Santos, the harm she caused, the way she twisted love into control. And Jesus told me, she chose darkness. She hardened her heart, and her soul will face the consequence. It was painful to hear, Yet, strangely, it gave me peace, because for the first time, I knew that God had not ignored my suffering. Justice was real, and every wound would be accounted for. Then he revealed the truth about death. Death, he said, is not the end. It is a doorway, a transition. The body is a shell, fragile and temporary, but the soul cannot be destroyed. It continues, either into the light of my presence, or into the darkness chosen by a hardened heart. As he spoke, I saw souls entering into brilliant light, reunited with loved ones, embraced in joy, and I also saw souls turning away, consumed by bitterness, unable to face love because they had rejected it all their lives. It was not God casting them away. It was their own choice, their refusal of love that became their judgment. Another truth he shared was about time. In heaven, time is not like on earth. Seconds and hours do not exist the same way. I understood that eternity is not endless time. It is the absence of time, a reality where past, present, and future are one. That is why memories of this experience never fade. They are not like dreams that vanish in the morning. They are etched into the eternal part of the soul, forever alive. Then he spoke of prayer, and this pierced me deeply. Every prayer is heard, he said, even the whispered ones, even the ones spoken in despair. None are ignored. But prayer is not about reciting words. It is about connection, about bringing the heart to me, and listening as much as speaking. Too many pray for what they want, but few pray for strength to endure, or wisdom to act in love. Teach them that prayer is not a transaction, it is a relationship. Suddenly I remembered every desperate plea I had ever made, and I realized he had heard them all. Even when I thought heaven was silent, Jesus also reminded me about love, the simplest yet most powerful truth of all. Love is not weak, he said. Love is the greatest weapon against darkness. Love forgives, heals, protects, endures. And when the world chooses love, evil loses its power. But when people choose hate, division, selfishness, they open the door for destruction. Teach them again about love. Remind them that it is not just emotion. It is action. It is sacrifice. His words echoed inside me, and I felt both convicted and renewed, because I knew how often I had failed to love. But I also knew I was being given another chance. He allowed me to ask questions, and one that rose quickly was, Lord, why do bad things happen to good people? His answer was gentle. This world is broken, scarred by sin. Storms will come, tragedies will strike, but pain is never wasted. When offered to me, even suffering becomes seed that can grow into compassion, into testimony, into strength for others. I understood then that my own life story, every trauma, every heartbreak, was not meaningless. It could be used to bring healing to others if I was willing to share it. Finally, he showed me a glimpse of the future, not details like dates or headlines, but a sense of assurance. He told me, do not fear what is coming. For those who walk with me, even in chaos, I will be their peace. Even in darkness, I will be their light. Even in death, I will be their life. Tell them that hope is real and eternity is waiting. These words burned into me, not as vague promises, but as living truth. And I knew, no matter what the world faces, God's presence will never abandon his children. When that flood of revelation ended, I felt both exhausted and alive, overwhelmed yet filled with peace. And I realized I had been given not only warnings and instructions, but treasures, spiritual truths that I must carry back with me, truths that could change lives if people were willing to hear them. And I silently promised Jesus, I will tell them. I will not keep this to myself. no matter the cost. The light around me began to fade, slowly at first, like the end of a sunset, then faster, until the brilliance of heaven gave way to shadows. I felt myself being pulled back, drawn into the weight of flesh again, and I knew my time in eternity had come to a pause. I was returning to the broken world I had left behind. At first, I resisted. Every part of me wanted to stay, to remain in that peace, to never again feel pain. But then, I remembered his words. You must return. You have a mission. And though my soul longed for heaven, I surrendered, whispering, Lord, let it be as you will. That surrender was the last free moment before agony consumed me. I opened my eyes, and the first thing I felt was weight. My body was heavy like stone. My chest burned. My head pounded, and I could barely move. I was lying in my bed, but it felt like a battlefield. My bladder had released. My legs were cold and mottled with blood pooling beneath the skin. My stomach twisted, and when I forced myself to the bathroom, blood filled the toilet. Proof that my organs had suffered during the days I was gone. My return was not gentle. It was violent, shocking, raw. I staggered back to my room, collapsing onto the floor, the sounds of my pets barely reaching my ears, my pug pawing at the door, my kitten curled near my arm. They had stayed with me, waiting, as if they sensed my battle between life and death. Their loyalty anchored me, reminding me that I was still on earth, still breathing, still meant to continue. Confusion wrapped around me. What day was it? How long had I been unconscious? I checked my phone. The last time it had been touched was over 2 days earlier. July 4th had already passed. I had been gone longer than I ever imagined. My body proved it. Grey in some places, weak in every muscle. But even as I trembled in fear at the physical signs of death, my spirit carried the certainty of what I had seen. I knew I had crossed over and returned. The hospital had dismissed me before. They said nothing was wrong, that it was only stress. But I knew now, they had no idea how close I had been. I thought of calling them again, but my trust was broken. Instead, I called a friend, someone who understood my illness, someone who knew my history, and as I explained what had happened, tears spilled, because I realized I had truly been given a second chance, one I did not deserve, yet one I could not waste. The hardest part was reconciling both worlds. On one hand, the memory of heaven was bright, vivid, unshakable. On the other, the reality of my broken body was undeniable. Pain pressed against every nerve. Weakness limited every move. And fear tried to creep back in, whispering that maybe it had been a dream. But the details, the clarity, the unshakable peace inside me, they proved otherwise. Dreams fade, but this memory burned in me like fire. It refused to die. I lay in bed that night, trembling, my body aching, yet my spirit whispering prayers of gratitude. Thank you, Lord, for sending me back, even though I begged to stay. I realized then that returning was not punishment, it was purpose. And though the journey ahead would be hard, though my body might never fully heal, my soul had been made stronger than ever before. I was no longer the same Maria who collapsed in fear that night. I was a witness, a messenger, a survivor touched by eternity. In the days and weeks after my return, I struggled to piece together what had happened. My body was weak, my mind was fragile, but my spirit was burning with a new fire. I could not go back to living the way I used to. I had seen too much. I had heard too much. And I knew I was alive for a reason beyond my own survival. I would sit by the window, looking at the sky, remembering the colors of heaven, the music in the air, the voice of Jesus speaking truth over me, and tears would fall, not from sadness, but from gratitude, because I realized I was not forgotten, I was not abandoned. Even when I thought no one cared, God had always been there, carrying me through the storm. And now He was asking me to carry His message to others. My anxiety, the fear that once controlled my life, began to lose its grip. I no longer woke up with panic crushing my chest. I no longer drowned in endless worry. Instead, I felt peace. A peace that did not come from medicine or therapy, but from the certainty of eternity. I knew where I was going. I knew who held my future, and that truth became my anchor, my shield, my strength. I thought about my children, my sons who were grown but still needed a mother's love. And I whispered to them, every chance I had, do not waste your life on things that fade. Hold on to faith. Choose love. Forgive quickly. Live fully. Because I knew no career, no wealth, no possession could ever compare to the treasure of eternity. I wanted them to understand, before it was too late, that heaven is real, that Jesus is real, and that life here is only a preparation for the life to come. I also thought about the broken people I had met. The homeless man, whose eyes told a story of deep pain. The patients I had supported with my disease. The children who cry silently in abusive homes. And my heart ached, because I realized every one of them matters to God. Every one of them carries value, even when the world says they are nothing. And I promised myself, I will not turn away from them anymore. I will speak for them, fight for them, love them, because that is what I was spared for. And now, as I share this story with you, I want you to know, this is not just about me. This is about you too. Your life has meaning, even in the darkest nights, even in the deepest pain. You are not forgotten. Jesus sees you. He knows your tears. He hears your prayers. And He has not abandoned you. If He could reach into my brokenness, if He could pull me back from the edge of death, then He can do the same for you. Maybe you are carrying wounds from your childhood. Maybe you feel invisible. Maybe you are drowning in anxiety or fighting battles no one else can see. Please hear me. Your story is not over. There is hope beyond what you feel right now. There is a God who loves you, who wants to heal you, who is waiting for you to let Him in. Do not give up, because what feels like the end could be the beginning of something greater than you imagine. If I could leave you with one message, it is this: love while you still can. Forgive while you still can. Do not wait until tomorrow to say what should be said today. Hug your children. Call your parents. Make peace with your friends. Life is fragile, and none of us know how many days we have left. But eternity is waiting, and love is the only thing that lasts forever. So from my heart to yours, I beg you, do not live in fear. Do not waste your life chasing shadows. Choose faith. Choose hope. Choose love. And when your time comes to cross that final doorway, you too will find peace and reunion and joy that never ends. This is my promise to you, because I have seen it. I have lived it. I have returned to tell you, heaven is real, and Jesus is waiting. If this story has touched your heart, if these words have stirred something deep inside you, I ask you not to leave in silence. Share your voice, share your thoughts, because your story matters too. Please, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. It may seem like a small click, but every subscription allows this message to reach more souls who need hope, more people who need to know that they are not alone. Your support is not just for me. It is for every broken person who might find healing here. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you felt. Tell me what you believe. Tell me who you are praying for. Because when we share, when we connect, we become stronger together. This is not just a channel. It is a family, a community of hope. And your voice, your presence, is part of that light. So do it now. Subscribe, comment, share this video, and help spread the truth that heaven is real, that love is stronger than death, and that Jesus is waiting for each of us. Let's not keep this message hidden. Let's carry it together until every heart has heard